Hello, everybody. I am Naomi Olatayo. I used to go by brand strategist and spiritual doula, but I had a recent realization where I need to step into a higher level of embodiment for the work that I want to do, and by default, I needed my name and title to follow suit. So I am Naomi Olatayo, your brand priestess. I'll definitely send an email explaining more of that. So if you do want to keep up with me, have access to exclusive access, and also just, hear more about like the revelations I receive from God about branding, strategy, business, and life, definitely subscribe to the Late Night Brand Letters. A link will be down below. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the energetics of creation and your identity. This will be a pretty thorough one, so if you have a notebook, a pen, I definitely would take notes, or I would watch this maybe 1 or 2 times, because this is a foundational understanding that you need to be able to not just navigate your brand realignment journey, but really in just how you can navigate being the type of trailblazer that you are. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, first and foremost, a founding principle on everything I'm going to say today is that your business is a reflection of you. When you look at your business, you are seeing the externalization of yourself, the thoughts that you have, and who you think you are, what you love and what you hate. Remember that. So, that understanding is based off of is just basic creation energetics. It's how creation works. Creation is always a reflection of its creator. Always. Which means that everything that you create is you. Whatever that you produce and you put out into this world, every single thing that you take the time to birth out from your spiritual womb, every idea that you had in your vision that you put out onto this earth is you. And who are you? Who you are, in today's context, we're going to be talking about your identity. So your identity is what gives shape to everything that you create. It what gives name to every single thing that you create. It gives structure to every single thing that you create. It gives color to every single thing that you create. Who you are, your identity, is what gives shape and name and form to whatever it is you create. And it reflects back onto you, whoever you were when you created it. So in short, you can only create what you are. Whoever you are is what you create. And what you create is you. It is your reflection. It is you looking in the mirror at yourself, just in a different materialized form. So why is that important? It's important because most of us started our companies, we built our lives at a point in time where we were given a vision, or we were entrusted with a vision, or we were seeing the vision or fragments of the vision in our lives before we ever were who we are right now. So that could have been at a time, maybe you were in prison, you were homeless, maybe you had extremely low self-esteem, but because of your connection to God, you were able to start receiving downloads of what it is that you're here for and what your gift is and everything that you're supposed to create. And so you created something. And for a lot of you, it became pretty successful. And you did an amazing job at structuring out your life, structuring out your business, your brand. You've created products that represent, I guess, to an extent of what it is that you had in mind from the beginning. You created a community of customers who adore you and love you. You've created a family, friendships, so many things based off of where you were. But it's gotten to a point where when you look in the mirror, you don't see yourself. You see frustration. You see maybe a little bit of grief, because what you've built and what used to be a reflection of you no longer mirrors you anymore. Or when you look at your reflection, when you look at your business, when you look at your life, you take a look and you see that what you've built isn't what you intended for, but because of pressure from maybe the self-esteem that you had at the time, or because the drive that you had to prove something to somebody, or because you were so driven by spite and pain and hatred, now what you're standing in doesn't align with the person you are. And the person that you are right now in your identity is somebody who is in a liminal transitional space into stepping into the highest embodiment that you can, because you are now recognizing fully what the vision God has given you, or you're being reacquainted with it and recommitting to that specific path. So now you are just in this weird space when you take a look around and you can't see yourself. You're not getting that immediate feedback like, oh, this is me. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And maybe you are supposed to be where you are, but because things have changed and because there's been such a drastic difference between who you were when you started to where you are now, things aren't mirroring you properly. Or maybe they never mirrored you at all. Maybe what you've built was a trauma response. Maybe your hyperproductivity and your extreme hunger and desire for success was rooted in your fear of failure or abandonment. Maybe you did what you were supposed to do and you followed all the rules and you were just a good girl or whatever you had to be to make sure that you were safe and accepted and that you would get all the things that you should have gotten. Maybe that's you, and whatever you've built, the successes that you've had, the 7-figure months, getting accepted into different retail stores or selling to celebrities and having super high-end collaborations, maybe that's not what you were here for. Maybe that's not what it should have ever been, but it just was because of who you are. And we're here now. And we already understand that you can only create what you are. And you already understand that what you create is a reflection of you. And when you look at your reflection, you should see yourself. And when you see yourself, you're not satisfied. You're bored. You're unimpressed, or just maybe feeling so detached and just kind of disillusioned to it all. And I can only imagine that with all that reckoning and realization, you've come to an understanding that it's time. Like, now is the time for me to bet on the vision that I had from the beginning, for me to reacquaint myself with the vision that I was given so long ago, for me to stop seeing myself as just a business owner or a small business owner, but the global leader that I am, or the powerhouse of a business that I am, the industry disruptor, the culture changer that I am, or that you are. Maybe you're recognizing that I was never just here to just, sell products that I'm not even passionate about. Maybe you are coming to the understanding that the products that you sell are vehicles for embodiment for your customers, that they are exercises of transformation within the people that come in contact with you, and that your brand is a literal altar that can change the course of people's lives and by nature, their culture, their environment, and their world. Maybe you're finally coming to accept that maybe it was never just about skincare. Maybe it was about providing the means for women and men to exercise God's glory in their physical embodiment and form by helping them clear up their skin and make them feel beautiful. Maybe it was never about the clothes. Maybe it was about providing an accessible means for people to come into contact with quality piece of clothing that won't mess with people's energies and still honors the workers through the production process. Whatever it is, whatever that vision was that is so much more than what you've settled for in your present company and your present environment, whatever it is, you've come to a place where you are realizing that in order for that to come about, you need a new mirror, or you need to change yourself so that what's reflected in what you create is you and nothing else outside of it. Thankfully, we are sovereign creative beings. We have the power to shift and change and to contort, to be whoever we want. So we're never stuck in where we are. And I know it's very easy to sometimes feel like we don't have any choice, or we don't have any leeway to really get out of where we are, especially if you're in a really kind of sticky situation. But we are never stuck. We're always changing. We're always manifesting our desired reality in our lives. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. We're always manifesting something, even if it's not our desired reality. So the task at hand right now is tending to our identity. It is the process of unbecoming to become the person who can mirror the level of vision that you have been striving for in your life, business, relationships, and everything. And that honestly is that process is not a simple one. This is part of the reason why I had to change my name from just brand strategist to the brand priestess, because when people come into my field and when people come to work with me, in the beginning I would always say, we're going to realign your brand, but to create anything and to realign anything requires for you to elevate your identity, to expand your identity, to activate and remember who you are, so that when you do create and put your mind to make certain decisions, to take risks, to make those power moves in your company, in your brand, and in your life, when you take that time or take the stand to make shifts and to add things on and cut things off, you have to do that from an embodied place of trueness. Because when you exist in contradiction to what is trying to be mirrored through you after you birth it, it won't come out that way. It'll come out according to where you are. And that's why a lot of people have companies that never feel right. That's why people build lives that never feel correct. They don't fit them. They have to suppress a part of themselves for it to work in their favor. But it was never supposed to be that way. And whenever you have visions in the back of your mind that just don't seem to actualize or come about, that's why. It's because you aren't remembering a part of yourself. You're not remembering a part of yourself that's necessary to be integrated so that you can birth it out in your reflection, your creation, your business, your life, your family. So if you're somebody like me, for a long time, I've rejected so many parts of myself. I remember when I grew up Christian, very Christian. I had went to Christian school. I had pastors for parents, and we're African, so you can only imagine. Pentecostal Africans. So you can imagine if you know anything about Africans. So that meant a lot of who I am had to be suppressed, especially just me and my giftings, because a lot of things weren't understood. So I remember I would try to build my whatever business I was building at the time. I had a couple in my lifetime, but I would try to build, and I've always had the correct-ish vision. I had a semblance of the vision, but I never fully could articulate it. It just existed in fragments. And so I would take maybe one or two fragments that I saw, and then I would try to build an entire foundation off of it. But the problem was I can't build a foundation off of parts. I didn't recognize at the time that the fragments that I was seeing was waiting for me to embody a certain identity so that I can have the sight to see it. And that's another thing. The level of which you can see your vision and clarity comes at the depth of embodiment that you have in your identity. There are certain things that you won't see. There are certain blueprints that you won't be able to comprehend or just even grasp until you release certain attachments of your ego, until you release certain parts of you that aren't true or that live in conflict with who you are becoming, so you can be able to see it. Your identity dictates what you see and how you see it, because that's your point of view. If you believe that you can't build a factory that has everything made by, single mothers, because you desire to build a brand, a mom and baby brand that is completely run by single mothers and made in the US or whatever your dream is. If you believe that no one would invest in that idea, you're not going to see the fullness of that blueprint to bring about the idea within you. Those divine codes that are meant for you to implement and integrate into your brand, you're not going to see it because there's a part of you, a belief system, part of your identity that is in conflict with it. And so when I say that you need to expand and activate your identity, it's an act of remembrance. And it's also an expansion of your field so that you can receive more of the fragments, the things that existed in fragments in your mind or in your fields, which will then become clearer, and then you will have sight, and you walk according to where you're looking. So if you're only looking at a small fragmented piece, you're not going to be able to walk far. You don't have to walk far to see fragments. Like if I have a piece, a picture in my face, I may only see this little dot right here, not even realizing that there's a picture of honey on the picture, or there's a whole biscuit. This is my notebook, but you're not going to be able to see it if you're just looking so close. So when you expand your identity and you remove the conflicting beliefs and pieces of your identity that aren't true, it's kind of like things space out, and you can begin to see the masterpiece of the blueprint that it is. And you'll be able to walk towards it in wholeness and integrity. At its core, like I've been saying, this is an act of remembrance. This is a threshold moment. So again, I think I started to say this, but I didn't finish that sentence. But that's the reason why I had to come and change my name or my title or how I identify online, because it really isn't strategy. It's a moment of remembrance. It's a place of, in a morbid way, death. Because you have to put aside what has worked for you, what made you successful, what brought you to 7-8 figures, what brought you customers that's wrapping around the door, what brought you the perfect amount of investors, because that brought you somewhere, and that's so commendable and that's amazing. But you wouldn't be here if you didn't feel that confliction with what you've known in your soul for so long about what you're supposed to build. And that's why I don't consider the containers I facilitate just a service. It's a portal. It's an activation site. It's a place of offering, an initiation to exercise the fullness of who you are and your vision and your embodiment through your identity, so that you can go the distance and the depth to materialize everything that you have been shown on this earth. You cannot build what you are not. You cannot create what you are not. So when you find yourself continuously in your business, in your company, where things just aren't clicking, where you find yourself grieving over the fracture your success caused in your family because it exposed the underlying jealousy and inadequacy within your parents and your siblings, and it's caused you to have to cut them off. When you feel that aching in your soul because you're so bored and just so restless, and you just know that there's something more for you. You just know that there's something calling you to create in a higher level of caliber and capacity. And that's why I say it's not strategy. It's and if you look at the border of my YouTube channel, it says branding is spiritual. It really is spiritual, because I believe that the brands that we create and the products that we produce are vehicles for embodiment. They are access points for people to become greater versions of themselves. But the problem is when we create things at a level that is not honorable to anybody on any side, except for the people winning on the top. I have a whole other video about it. I'll link it down below or in the cards above. So yes, it is necessary for you to tend to your identity. It is necessary for you to recognize the parts of you that are not true and live at conflict with what you are building. Because you cannot create what you are not. And when you take a look at your company, when you look at your business, when you look at your life, when you look at your friendships, your family, do you see yourself in it? Does it speak to the truth of who you are? Does it speak to the truth of what you're building? Does it speak to the truth of where you were always meant to go? And if not, then the activation of your soul and your true identity has to come around. So I have some general questions for you. What do you need to become? Who do you need to become? My bad. Who do you need to become to accurately materialize this vision on Earth? What parts of your identity influence the misaligned parts of your brand and company? What part of your being exists outside of your sovereign and creative power? And based off the state of your company, what does it say about you, being that it is your reflection? Like your brand and your business realignment, and you taking an oath of conviction in the vision that you were given, and telling yourself that there can be nothing else but this reality where my brand exists in this capacity, where my brand and business in my life exists in this level of impact, where we exist in this level of visual and aesthetic and integration in certain industries or whatever it is. When you get to that point, it's no longer you're no longer just talking strategy. You're no longer just talking about what template can I use, because maybe you've already had the success, because you already know what templates can do for you. You already know how to make money. You already know how to build a brand. And that's not what people come to me for. People come to me for a position, for a container of initiation and a place of offering, so that they can expand and have a container of activation. I'm sorry. This thing's really loud right now. They come to me for activation, to exist in my field, to take part in my energy and my spiritual authority, so that they can navigate spiritually. It is super loud. So that they can navigate spiritually and so they can navigate spiritually through everything it is that they've been called to build. So no, I do not give templates, and I do not advise on templates. This is a whole other realm of expansion and building. It's building your legacy. It is building your empire. It is setting the foundation for you to hold every single thing that it has been shown to you. And I know for the people who are called to work with me, the people who know that they're meant to work with me and to partner with me as a co-creator and co-visionary, I know that this skincare brand, this hair care brand, this clothing line, whatever it is, that is just the beginning. That's just the vehicle. That is not the end all be all. You have a house of brands that exist within your womb, but you can't exercise that until you become the exact energetic match to facilitate that and hold it and maintain it, not just in your lifetime, but for lifetimes going forward. You are a matriarch of your family. You are somebody who is setting the foundation for your entire bloodline. You are the ancestors that your future great-great-great-great-grandchildren will be communicating with. Your impact is not meant to be limited to the functionality of your products. That is not the type of person that you are. And maybe that is what you've been thinking in. And your thinking has been so small. And your thinking has been limiting to the fullness of the vision that is available for you. And you have yet to fully take on and see it all in its glory in its entirety, because you're just so used to putting yourself in a box. And I've done that for so long as well. And that's why I created the Aligned partnership the way that I did. Like I said, it's not just a regular service. It is a partnership. It is communion. It is a place where we come together as co-creators and co-visionaries, where I can relate to you as somebody who can see the unseen, understand the vision before people can, other people, your investors, your partners, your family, your employees, your team can even see it. It's a place where I can support you and walk with you as you are navigating your power moves, taking sacred risks, and making very specific strategic moves in alignment with the vision that God has shown you. And I'll support you as your spiritual doula, as your priestess, not in an authority sense, but in a partnership sense, as you become the person and evolve and grow to become the person who can hold and manage and maintain this level of caliber of vision that you have been called to do and create and birth. I will walk with you and help you navigate that process of unbecoming, of death and rebirth, the process of becoming, so that when you create and as you birth what is in your womb, as you birth the house of brands, the impact, the schools, because I know I'm a brand strategist and I talk about business, but I know the people who are called to work with me, the people who know that who are meant to work with me, they're building countries, they're building movements, and not in a little liminal sense, because I don't like buzzwords at all. I work with forerunners, with people who are trailblazers. You are the blueprint. People are literally going to look to you to see what is possible and what can be done. And yes, you may only have your your mom and baby brand right now. You may only be selling maybe jams. Maybe that's your business. That's what you're selling. And you've made 7 figures off of it. Whatever it is, that is just the beginning. And you need somebody who has the capacity to not just hold your brand's vision, but your humanity in its entirety, and won't suppress you and put you in a box like you have been putting yourself in a box, right? People have been trying to put you in a niche or a box all this time. The Aligned Partnership gives you direct access to me for a minimum of 3 months, weekly calls, Telegram, voice message, text access to me. You also have access to me to walk with you in your actual location if necessary. I can serve as a brand advocate, especially because I know that as you're making these changes and as you're making these sacrifices and these commitments, it can cause a lot of disruption, and that's what I'm here for. I remember a long time ago, I was talking to God, and He told me, "Naomi, you're disruptive," and that really agitated me because it was so unprovoked. I was like, "Why are you calling me that? I don't get it." But as time has gone on, I've recognized that is exactly what I'm great at. I'm perfect at walking into a business and seeing where it is living at a lower capacity than it should be living at. I'm excellent at walking into somebody's home, into their life, and being able to break it down piece by piece and walk with you through that breakdown process, through that deconstruction process, so that you can rebuild on truth through your identity. You cannot create what you are not, and everything that you create is a reflection of you. It is you. So if you are ready to finally anchor on and fully commit to this process of bringing about this vision and full materialization on earth, and not just the minimal version that you think is successful to you, but the fullness of the vision, the full impact, the full influence, the full true grounded vision on earth, then we may be aligned to work together. And we may be aligned to work together. I know the people who have been called to work with me know exactly who I am. The people who I have worked with, they've come to me and said, "I read the first slide of your Instagram post, and I just knew that I was supposed to work with you." And some of them, we haven't even started yet, but it's just the awareness. I'm not here to convince you of who I am to you. You will know, and you will know what time it is for you. Because you will know the time. You'll know what time you're on, and you will know that it will be time to step into this level of initiation that has been made available for you through the Aligned Partnership. The link to apply is in my bio. I welcome you. For those of you who have been able to recognize me in spirit and in truth, if there's one thing I would like to leave with you, which I keep saying throughout this video, is that you can only create what you are. So who are you? And who do you need to become to birth the fullest expression of this vision that God has been co-creating with you from the beginning? And with that, I am Naomi Ultayo, former brand strategist, spiritual doula, and now the brand priestess on all socials, which will be going up eventually. We'll get there. Again, the link to apply to the Aligned Partnership, the 3-month minimum container, is in the link in my bio. I hope to see you on the other side, and thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.